Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I'm Erin Lenz and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the Nebraska Passport Program today. So if you have any questions throughout any of the presentation, feel free to email them to Callie at callie.ostad@nebraska.gov and she'll make sure that I answer them at the end. So to kind of get started, we wanted to talk about what the Passport Program is for those of you that don't know what it is. The Nebraska Passport is a fun, interactive travel program to give both in-state and out-of-state travelers new ideas for places to visit. So kind of the goal of this is to lead travelers to Nebraska's hidden gems. And we want to make sure that people are getting in and around the state and to every corner of the state and visiting all of the fun places that we have to offer. So kind of how that works is we have a booklet that we give people and they have 70 unique stops throughout Nebraska on it. And throughout all of their travels, anytime they go to a Nebraska Passport stop, they can get a stamp. And at the end of the season, which the season runs from May 1st to September 30th, at the end of the season they turn it in and we give them prizes based on how many places they went to. So kind of one of the big overall goals of it is to positively impact Nebraska businesses. So a little bit about the program management. So we do have a passport program coordinator. That's Madison Schlake. Her email is madison.schlake@nebraska.gov. And you can always call her Monday through Friday 8 to 5 at 402-471-3789. And if there's any issues with the passport program throughout the summer season, our office is open from 8 to 5, and you can call and email at any time during those hours. And our main office phone number is listed here, as well as just the general passport email, which is info@nebraskapassport.com. So these are the emails that if you ever have questions about the program, just inquiries from other people, this is where you would go for that. And kind of with that, we do have a new passport program coordinator. Like I said, her name is Madison Schlake, and I just kind of want to bring her up for a second so that she can kind of introduce herself and talk a little bit about herself.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to kind of informally meet you. But as she said, my name is Madison Schlake, and I am originally from Fairbury, Nebraska, but I just graduated from UNL with a hospitality, restaurant, and tourism management degree. My first job out of college was actually, or out of high school, was actually at a passport stop where I served as a barista, and it was kind of a fun place in Fairbury. So I have a somewhat of an idea of what the passport stops are going through, and it kind of gives me a unique perspective on the program. And I'm really excited to work. I've only been at the job for about 2 weeks now, so I'm still kind of learning everything. And as it says at the bottom of my bio, I am getting married here in a few months. So my name will be Madison Johnson and no longer Schlake. So I'm going from a really difficult name to a lot easier one. But yeah, so I'll let Erin talk to you for a while because I'm still learning everything and she knows a lot more than I do.
Yeah,
so.
I thought it would be cruel to make her do the entire webinar right away.
Yeah.
Thanks, Madison. So she will be the passport contact if you ever have any questions moving on from the end of the season, which is September 30th, to after the season is over and you want to learn more about being a passport stop. She's the person you can go to. It's kind of the history of the passport program. This is the 10th year of the program, and every year the passport is different. So this year the passport features a lot of fan favorites from those last 10 years, but it also features a lot of great new stops from boutiques to museums to state parks we haven't put on the program before. Every year it's a little different than the year before, and we're really excited that we've been able to do it for 10 years so far. The stops are picked through an application process. So we kind of go through and we pick these 70 stops throughout the passport based on destination variety. So like I said, we want to make sure that we're providing a lot of fun things for people to do. So we'll have boutiques we'll have museums. We have like a marble museum, which is very unique and fun. There's just a large destination variety. Also geographical diversity, we want to make sure people are making it from every corner of the state. So you're not going to only see places in Lincoln or Omaha or Scottsbluff. It's going to be spread out through the entire state. And then we also choose stops based on the visitor experience and their customer service. So are they friendly? Do they provide a great experience for people? Are they willing to talk about other tourism destinations in their area? All of that goes into whether we pick them for a stop or not. A little bit about 2018's year. It was another record-breaking year, and 749 people made it to all 70 stops throughout the state, which is really impressive. 749 people is a lot of people to go to all 70 stops on the passport. There was also 144,903 stamps collected for 2018, and the average number of stamps that people got was 31. And as you can see, there's a pretty fun picture of a couple of our Passport participants. And a little bit about who those participants are. It was spread out through 418 Nebraska communities, and we had people submit a passport from 46 different states. So not only Nebraskans do this program, but people from out of state find it to be a really fun way to kind of get to know Nebraska themselves. Kind of the breakdown of ages is the largest target audience we have is from ages 35 to 44, and then it goes to the 65 plus category. 55 to 64 is the third largest, and then you have the 25 to 34 age range, 45 to 54, under 18, and then that the lowest target audience we work with is the 18 to 23 range. So I'm kind of going to go through what we have on the Passport program this year. I want to make sure you all know kind of what stops we have and just give you a good idea of the program and who's on the program this year and who could possibly be on the program next year. So like I said, we spread it out throughout the entire state. So as you'll see from the map here, it's located in every corner. So we have stops from all the way to the east, to the west, to the north, to the south, spread out all throughout the state. We do also break down our Passport stops into themed categories. This just makes it easier for people to travel. So if they're really interested in state parks and they just only want to go to kind of those outdoor beautiful nature spots, there's a tour for that. If they're really interested in shopping, there's a tour for that. If they're interested in like the wineries and breweries, there's also a tour just for that. So I'm kind of going to go through the stops based on how they're broken down in tours. So the first tour we have here is the Not at All What You Thought tour. So this tour kind of gives you a sampling of some of the most surprising hidden gems that we have in the state. And they're just those places that you wouldn't expect to be in Nebraska. So this first one here, we have Crystal Forge at the Hot Shops Art Center, and that's in Omaha. If you haven't been there, they do glass blowing, and they do glass blowing demonstrations, and they also have a lot of great stuff that you can buy as well. Another one we have is Happy Jack Chalk Mine. If you haven't been to Happy Jack Chalk Mine, it's great. It's one of the only chalk mines left in the U.S. And they do a lot of fun storytelling, and they have a lot of great history that they can share with you. And that's in Scotia. One of my favorite facts that they've shared with me is that they used to have motorcycle races in the chalk mine, which I just think is super fun. And they tell a lot of those great stories whenever visitors come to see them. There's also Mark Ferrari Specialty Coffees in Oshkosh. I actually was just there a couple weeks ago on my way up to the Bayard area, but they have great specialty coffees, and they also sell coffees that they roast themselves. There's also Mullen Art Center and Meadowlark Market in Mullen. That's a great stop. We've got the Nebraska National Forest, the Bessie Ranger District part of it, which is in Halsey. The Oconto Barn Quilt Trail and Charles Horn Sculpture Garden, that is also in Oconto. And then Smith Falls State Park in Valentine. Smith Falls is one of those places that we constantly hear people saying that they just really didn't expect to find that in Nebraska, because Smith Falls is Nebraska's largest waterfall. So it's a beautiful stop as well. Here's just a couple pictures from a few of them. So you've got the Oconto Sculpture Garden here, and then also Smith Falls and Valentine. Smith Falls is kind of a little hidden, so that's kind of why it's a Not at All What You Thought stop, is because it's pretty hidden back there. You have to take a little hike to get to it. Another one of our tours is Quirky Nebraska. And these are just kind of those quirky spots that make you smile, and they're just very unique and fun. So the first one is Carhenge in Alliance. This is always a really quirky spot that makes people smile and kind of laugh. One of our newer advertisements in our campaign says like Stonehenge, but a newer model. So that's a perfect description of Carhenge. There's also the It's All About Bees in Ralston. This is just a great store that sells honey and various other bee-themed items. They also have a really great photo booth for Passport stops this year. And there's Lee's Legendary Marbles, which is in York. That's a really fun stop because it's just a huge collection of marbles, and you can even buy your own to start your own collection. There's also the Museum of the Fur Trade in Chadron, and the Pink Palace LLC in McGrew, which is a great stop. It's a huge, bright pink building. Then there's Raising Nebraska in Grand Island, which just has a lot of great information about the agriculture in our state. And then Stagecoach Gifts in Kearney, which I know one of their fun facts is that right now their deal for Passport stops is a little ornament, which is really cute. So here's just a couple of pictures for those Quirky Nebraska stops. The It's All About Bees store in Ralston. See, it's pretty cute on the outside, and they have lots of bee-themed stuff inside, and then Alliance as well, which is car hinge. So moving on, we have our Rural Gems themed tour. So these are kind of your Nebraska small towns that are full of hidden gems. So you'll have a great time in these charming communities with a whole lot to offer. Some of the examples of the Rural Gems stops are Blue Blossom Floral and Gifts, which is in Friend. Then there's the Brew Coffee House and Tasting Room in Valley. We've got Cottontail Vintage, LLC in Clarkson. The Brew House in Crete. I know it's kind of confusing. We have Brew Coffee House and the Brew House. I have definitely gotten them mixed up one or two times, but they're both very different and really great stops. There's the Dotted Daisy in Albion. The Hive and Lemon Drop Boutique, which is they have great drinks, and then they also have their cute boutique with different clothing items as well up in Bloomfield. And then there's the Wagner's Quilts and Conversation Quilt Shop as well in this tour. So these are just your they're these gems in rural communities. And a couple of pictures of these stops. So that's a picture of Cottontail Vintage in Clarkson, and then the Brew House in Crete as well. So moving on, our next tour is Bite of Nebraska. So food, just basically food themed. It's some of those great places that you can get a bite to eat in Nebraska, and they've just got all great food. So one of those examples is the Odyssey in downtown Hastings. We just recently went there, and they have a dry barbecue rub that they put on their French fries, which makes them just delicious. There's also River's Edge Ramada in Columbus, and they have a great bistro in their hotel that's wonderful for people to go on their stop. There's also Seinert's Bakery and Bierock Cafe in McCook. They make a great bierock, and they also have a lot of other baked goods that you would find at a bakery. And there's Shotgun Annie's Saloon and Grill in Callaway, Stab's Drive-In in Crawford, and then there's also the Mixing Bowl Cafe in Gearing that has a lot of really great food as well. So if you are one of those people who really enjoys eating, this is definitely the tour for you. And here's just a couple pictures of those spots as well. Those are the amazing French fries I was just talking about at Hastings, and then there's the really fun Shotgun Annie's Saloon in Callaway. Moving on, our next tour is beautiful Nebraska. So Nebraska, this is just kind of the great way to experience Nebraska's beauty. So you can relax in these tranquil outdoor adventures and view a lot of beautiful Nebraska art too. So this tour doesn't just mean outdoor beauty, it also means Nebraska art that you can see as well. So the first one here is Jay's Place, Gilman Park, which is in Pierce. There's also the Lake Minnetonka State Recreation Area in Minnetonka. This has a beautiful lighthouse that people can view and see. There's also Red Path Gallery and Tasting Room. They have been one of our passport stops before, and they just have a lot of fun art, and it's in this old bank building that's a lot of fun. Then there's the Sandhill River Trips / Ewald's Grocery in Thetford. So they offer river float trips where you can kind of flow down the serene river and just see a lot of really fun things and just experience nature at that stop. Then there's the Schramm Education Center in Gretna. This is actually brand new. They officially opened their new education center on May 15th, and I've heard nothing but good things so far. So they're a really fun stop because they're brand new. No one's really ever been there before. And then there's the Fia and Bell in Fremont, which is kind of a boutique store that has a lot of great items, candles, clothing, kind of everything that you can think of. And there's also Victoria Springs State Recreation Area in Anselmo, which is a really beautiful state recreation area. And here's a couple of pictures from those. So like I said, Victoria Springs and Anselmo, just beautiful there. And then that's the lighthouse at Lake Minnetonka. So moving on, we also have a family fun tour. So like the name says, this is one of those tours with stops that you can take the whole family to. So this is great for if you have kids, grandkids, or if you just want to pull a bunch of family members together and get going. So the first is Agate Fossil Beds National Monument in Harrison. Just a really, really fun stop to kind of experience those fossil beds. There's also the Lincoln Children's Zoo in Lincoln. A huge reason why Lincoln Children's Zoo is on it this year is they actually just opened up an exhibit to feed giraffes, and they opened up a new climbing area where you can climb next to the monkeys. So we really wanted to put them on this year because they have some cool new things for people to experience if they've never been there before, and if they've been there before and just haven't experienced the new spots. There's also Morrill Hall at the University of Nebraska State Museum in Lincoln. There's the Post Museum at Fort Robinson out in Crawford. And there's also the Springfield Drug, an old-fashioned soda fountain that makes a really, really good root beer float in Springfield. And that's just a great place to get ice cream floats in an old-fashioned soda fountain. There's also the Bluebird in Brownville, which Brownville is a great, fun community for people to go and visit. Not only just to the Bluebird to get ice cream, but also to some of the nearby stops as well. And then there's the Happy Brush in Grand Island, which is a place where you can go and paint your own items, and it's really fun. They also have a little store with other items that you can buy there as well. Here's just a couple pictures from that family fun tour. So like I said, Agate Fossil Beds National Monument in Harrison, and then a fun picture from the Lincoln Children's Zoo. Our next tour is the Nebraska Stories Tour, and this is just really about places that describe stories from Nebraska's history. So one of those stops is the General Cookhouse Museum in Omaha. You can go through, they actually have a headset that you can put on and listen to as you walk through the house. It's got a lot of fun history in there. Homestead National Monument in Beatrice. This is a great stop to just really learn about homesteading and how it came to be, not only for our state, but for other states as well. And then we've got John G. Neihart State Historic Site in Bancroft. The John Philip Falter Museum in Falls City is a great stop. Just another fun museum to look through. I know we got a couple of passport stories in recently about the Falter Museum that saying people really enjoyed it. The Lithuanian Bakery in Omaha makes some really, really great bakery items. I just had one of their apple dumplings, and they're amazing. There's Mansion on the Hill in Ogallala, which tells a great story, and then Ponca State Park in Ponca as well. And here's just a couple of pictures from those stops. Got the John G. Neihart in Bancroft, and then also the General Cookhouse Museum in Omaha there. Our next tour category is the History Alive, so kind of similar to Nebraska Stories, but these experiences kind of make Nebraska history come to life. So we've got the Bayard Depot Museum in Bayard, which does a great job. The Clayton Museum of Ancient History in York. This is a fun stop because it's kind of in like a big college building, and you go to the bottom floor, and there's this huge, really cool museum that has lots of old artifacts from ancient history. And they even have a really fun kids area where kids can kind of experience and learn more about this ancient history and what it looked like as well. There's Fort Atkinson State Historical Park in Fort Calhoun, which is a great stop. Golden Spike Tower in North Platte overlooks the world's largest classification rail yard, so that's a really great stop to go to as well. You can go up to the 8th floor observation deck and just kind of see all of the train cars as they get sorted before moving on their way, and that's just a really fun stop. The Kreigel Windmill Factory Museum in Nebraska City. That's always a fun one because people don't, know what they're going to see at a windmill museum. But this one is a really fun place to go to as well. And then there's the Neely Mill State Historic Site in Neely. And then you've also got Scottsbluff National Monument in Gearing, which is, they've got hiking, they have a visitor center you can go through and look at. And that's also a really great stop that has a lot of history from Nebraska in there as well. Just a couple of pictures from those. That's the Golden Spike Tower in North Platte, and then Fort Atkinson State Historical Park in Fort Calhoun. And then we have our happy hour tour. So these stops are going to be those ones that are breweries, wineries, just focusing on happy hour. So we've got Capitol View Winery and Vineyards in Roca, Johnny Bird Brewing Company in Wayne, we've got Loop River Distilling in St. Paul, and Niobrara Valley Vineyards in Menzel. On the Bricks, which is in Red Cloud, Prairie Creek Vineyard and Winery in Central City, and Too Far North in Fort Calhoun. So all of these stops are great a lot of them serve local Nebraska wine, local Nebraska beer, and just really fun places to go for happy hour. And here's a couple of pictures from those as well. We've got the Capitol View Vineyards in Roca, and then also Too Far North in Fort Calhoun. And our last themed tour or category is the Shop Nebraska. So this one focuses on all of those stops where you can shop local. So we've got Andrew's Garden in Kearney, Katie Designs Jewelry in Lincoln, that they not only have just some fun bracelets that you can put together yourself, but they have a lot of art. I know I was just in there the other day and they had some mugs that were really cool, pictures, local stationery, all sorts of good stuff like that. Kincaid Brewing in Broken Bow. We've got Magnolia's Home Decor and Design in Norfolk, which is another great boutique and local store. Main Street Market in Milford. Mariposa in Burwell, and Rustic and Red in Cozad. And here's just a couple pictures from Main Street Market in Milford and Mariposa in Burwell. So those are kind of all of the stops that you get to experience on the Nebraska Passport this year. Either you get to experience or your community is lucky to have a passport stop in that area as well. That's just kind of a look at all of the 70 stops throughout the program. So how to participate, if you don't know already, we have booklets. So we've got these lovely booklets here, and then also our Nebraska Passport app, and that's where you can get stamps through. And to get to the Nebraska Passport app, you just search for Nebraska Passport 2019 in your app store. So I also wanted to give you some updates on the program and kind of what's been happening this year. So unfortunately, the Twisted Mare in Curtis was one of our stops on the Bite of Nebraska tour, but it unfortunately had to permanently close. So just to give you an update and for you to kind of pass on the word of an update, it's now going to be a freebie stop. So in order for people to be considered passport champions or to have finished the program, they only need to go to 69 stops to finish the program. And we're currently working on a way to reflect that change in the app, whether that's kind of stamping everybody's for the Twisted Mare or just keeping that in mind for the end of the program when people are submitting their passports. We're working on a way to kind of reflect that in the app. But for the booklet, we're just accepting people's booklets if they don't have the Twisted Mare stamped in it as well. We also, kind of a few months ago, we made this announcement, but because of the flooding in Nebraska in March, we did have to take 2 of the stops off the program, and we could luckily replace them with other stops in time. So that was Niobrara State Park was changed to Ponca State Park. And Niobrara State Park, you can still go and see the park. It is still beautiful and open to visitors. It's just a lot harder to get there now because the main road into the park was unfortunately damaged, and they're working on fixing it. So that is going to be Ponca State Park, and Niobrara State Park will be on the 2020 program. We also replaced the tow line, which is on Fremont Lakes. And that, like I said, you can still go to Fremont State Recreation Area. It's up and running now. There's still some parts of the area that are damaged, but at the time of when the program started, we didn't know if they would be back in business or not, so we just went ahead and changed that stop, and that is now Fia and Bell and Fremont. And the tow line, as well as Niobrara State Park, will be on the 2020 program. And just another Nebraska National Forest, they also had to update, they kind of updated their hours. They are daily 8 to 5, but they are, since on the weekends they're kind of running around the park and they're not always in the office. So people can take a selfie in order to get a stamp for that spot, or still use the digital app as well to get a stamp. And we do put all of our updates, they are listed on nebraskapassport.com, so if you ever are curious if we have any updates or if some stops are closed for the weekend, whether it's a holiday weekend or not, you can always go to nebraskapassport.com, or we also provide all of the updates over our app. So you'll either get a push notification or it will show up in the messages section of your Nebraska Passport app. So I also wanted to go over kind of the benefits of there being a stop in your community, or of what stops actually benefit from. So we kind of gave a survey to all of the people who have been stops in previous years on the Passport program, and this is the order of most reported what their benefits were as a Passport stop. So the first one is Passport visitors helped market my destination to their family and friends. So this was the largest benefit that previous stops have said to being on the program. So they really saw that Passport visitors really helped, get the word out about their organization, and it was just really, they talked positively about it. They posted on social media. They wrote stories about their stop, so it just really helped. Number 2 benefit was that Passport visitors have already returned to their destination. So this is a big one. Not only did the Passport stops in previous years get visitors during the program, but they also got visitors to return to their stops later. And I really bring this up because the third one here is that other local tourism destinations reported that Passport traffic positively impacted them. So whether your destination is a Passport stop or not, we've seen that in the past that communities overall benefit when there's even just one Passport stop in their area. Some other stop benefits that have been reported are that they've received local statewide publicity opportunities and increased number of social media followers, website views, Some more stop benefits included collected participant contact information, and they used that in order to market upcoming exhibits, events, etc. Also, local dining establishments reported that passport traffic positively impacted them. So if you're one of the communities like, let's say, Golden Spike in North Platte. So like Golden Spike in North Platte this year is a passport stop. So those local dining establishments in the area of North Platte should also see a benefit and see a little bit of increased traffic from those passport visitors. The eighth one here is that they built new partnerships with local businesses. So we really love when our passport stops partner with the other stops in their area, not only other stops in their area, but other destinations that aren't passport stops in their area, and that they just really help promote each other. So this is one thing that we love about the passport program, is that it overall helps increase business in Nebraska, and we want to make sure that our passport stops are communicating with other local destinations and kind of seeing how they can promote each other. Number 9 here is they built new partnerships with organizations or groups in order to promote their destination. And number 10 is like local gas stations, retail stores, event organizers reported that passport traffic positively impacted them. So hopefully you can see that not only the passport program benefiting the passport stops in particular, but they benefit everybody in their community, whether that's restaurants, gas stations, local dining establishments, retail stores, so on and so forth. They tend to benefit each other as well. So going back to, again, stop benefits, this is more of what people have received in specific numbers, like they've seen significant increases in traffic, up to 200% have been reported. They've seen significant increases in sales, up to $25,000 throughout just that May 1st to September 30th program. And they also have seen significant increases in awareness among various target markets. So not only do the stops benefit, but everybody in their area benefits as well. So I really want to tell you about how you can benefit from a passport stop in your community. So if you're not a passport stop, there are still ways that you can partner with your local passport stops in order to help benefit your whole area. So when choosing passport stops, we do look for places that will be good tourism ambassadors. So we go to people that have great customer service, that know their area, are willing to talk about what other places promote, or what other places are in their area for people to go and travel to while they're there. So we always make sure that when we get passport stops on our program that they're willing to be great tourism ambassadors. So other ways that you can kind of help benefit from a passport stop in your community, make sure you talk to your local passport stop about setting out brochures, event flyers, coupons, kind of anything. Passport stops often have either like a little table or an area on their counter where they can put their Nebraska Passport counter sign, and additionally where they can put booklets themselves. And that's a great spot for them to also put brochures about other places in their area. Or if you have a huge event going on that weekend in your community, a great place to put those flyers would be with a passport stop, because they're getting a lot of traffic from people over the summer. And same with coupons. Coupons are a great thing to give out, because not only do the participants appreciate you giving them coupons, but they're more likely to either go and shop around in areas nearby, or they're more prone to come back to use those coupons as well. And just educate your local passport stop on other fun destinations in the area. So if you're a CVB, it's great to work with your local passport stop and kind of ask, how can we help benefit each other? So if I set out brochures or flyers, or can you make sure that every time you stamp somebody's booklet, you recommend a place nearby for them to go to? So it's a great way to kind of partner with your local passport stop to make sure that you guys are kind of figuring out how we can make sure and benefit the entire community and not just this one stop. So a great example of this would be Brownville this year. So like I said, the Bluebird in Brownville is one of the stops this year. And Brownville has just put together a really great package for passport participants that are visiting. So on the left here, you'll see that there's kind of a little scavenger hunt sheet. So when a passport participant comes in and gets their booklet stamped at the Bluebird, they're given these two items. One of them, like I said, this first one is a scavenger hunt sheet. So for those little kids that are coming in, it's a great way to hand them something, and it encourages them to go out throughout the community of Brownville and kind of look for these items on this scavenger hunt. So it's an easy way to kind of encourage people to do more than just go to the Bluebird, but to kind of walk around the entire community. And they're also providing sales for other people or other locations in the area of Brownville. So some of the other businesses in Brownville are offering, like for example here, Riverview Glass is offering a buy a glass heart, get one free. Whiskey Creek Run Winery is offering a buy one tasting, get one free. The Bird's Nest is offering a free charm with purchase. And Oak and Pine is offering 50% off on clothing. So this is just a great way to, when they come in and get a stamp, you hand them this stuff, and a lot of people just can't say no to a good deal. So they're going to end up going to all of the businesses around Brownville and seeing if they're worth, them going to buying a tasting, getting one free. It's just a great way to encourage people to travel throughout the other passport stop, or throughout the other destinations in their area besides just that one passport stop. So good job, Brownville. This is a really fun idea for this year, and I hope other people can kind of take away from this as well. Other great ideas are to get involved in social media with the Passport. We have found that some of our Passport social media posts with Visit Nebraska are really popular. We had a post up when we first announced the Passport Stop. It got like over 100 shares on that post just about Passport Stops, which is a lot of fun. So sharing about whether you're a stop and you want to share about some fun Passport travelers that have come through, or you can kind of do what we have been doing lately, which is we've been creating trips on our website around the Passport Stop. So you'll kind of see in this picture here, we created a passport trip that is the southern border passport stops. We created a passport tour of the Tri-Cities. We created a how to hit the 10 passport stops in Northwest Nebraska. And we also created a 2019 metro area passport stops tour as well. So you can easily, whether you are, if you like it, so example, if you're a CVB, a great idea would be to create a trip and say if you're going to go to, again, I'm going to use North Platte as an example. If you're going to go to North Platte, you say, and visit the Golden Spike Tower, here are 4 other places in the area that you can go to as well. Or if you want to give them a trip itinerary for the whole day, so say stop at Golden Spike Tower in the morning and then come to the espresso shop for lunch, go to Buffalo Bill State Park in the afternoon, and for dinner come back for Pals for pizza and beer. So that's just a great idea of suggesting how people can make their one passport stop a whole day affair. So creating trips, sharing those on social media, those are always really popular. We have found that a lot of our popular social media posts come from lists or trips or different fun ideas of where people can travel. So you can also share passport posts from our channels. So like I said, we usually post a couple times a week about the Passport Program. So if you notice that we post either about a passport stop close to your area, in your area, or kind of just near you in general, you can always share passport posts from us. We really love it when other people share, and that's at Visit Nebraska is our Facebook, and Twitter is at Nebraska Tourism. And you can also share submitted passport stories. So we have on NebraskaPassport.com, we have a really fun section of our website where participants can go and share stories. So this can be, sometimes they're just a couple sentences, sometimes they're about a traveler's entire day, or sometimes they're just about one stop that just really impacted them. We usually get around 1,500 of these stories a year, and they're great social media posts. So if you want to go to NebraskaPassport.com and go to the shared stories section, they're a lot of fun to kind of read through, browse through, and you can always share a link to a good story that you come across on the site. So here's just an example of some really fun passport posts that we've come across. So the middle 2 are 2 from that we've posted before, but like here, again, I feel like I keep using Visit North Platte as an example, but North Platte, they shared that the Golden Spike Tower is ready to welcome Visit Nebraska Passport visitors, and go and get your stamp. So that's just kind of a fun stop. There's also this great one that Scottsbluff National Monument shared about. It's their 100th anniversary this year. So they shared when they got their 100th passport visitor, which you'll notice was on May 18th. So they've already seen 100 passport visitors, which is just insane. But that's another fun way that you can kind of share about the passport program. And then as you can see, we've shared on our pages about the tour, and we shared on the day that we started and ask people like, how many stamps are you planning on getting this year? So you can either choose an example from one of these places, or you can just start asking people questions. People really love to respond on social media when you ask a question, especially about the Passport program. We have found out that Passport participants love to talk about the travel that they have experienced with the Passport program. So I kind of wanted to share some of those stories with you because they're a lot of fun. We've gotten a ton of them in. When Madison comes back up here later, she can kind of tell you how many we've gotten in because she's been posting a bunch of them to the website lately. But here's just one of the stories from Amanda, who is from Omaha. And she said, we visit Nebraska City fairly frequently, at least a couple of times a year. And never in all our visits did we know about the Windmill Museum. It was a neat step back in time from the antique cash register at the door to the shelves throughout the museum holding a multitude of tiny drawers of antique parts. The boys were fascinated by the windmill demonstration and even picked up a mini model to take home and build. Such a cool stop. And then this was the picture that she submitted with the story. Here's another story for you. We stopped at the Happy Jack chalk mine in Scotia. Outside appearances would have stopped us from checking this gem in the rough out. I'm so happy we took the tour. It was nice and cool in the mine, and the tour guide knew an awful lot of history. It was well worth the very minimal charge for a guided tour. And that was Jen from Wahoo. And a very cute picture there too. So when people submit stories, they can submit pictures with them. They don't have to, but it's always really fun. We get a lot of family pictures. We get some scenic shots of people that are in a great area where they take a beautiful scenic photo. It's just really fun to at least browse through these stories and kind of see what other participants have been experiencing, some of their favorite stops, and just a lot of fun things that they've gotten to go through. Another story that we have here is they have a super cute collage of pictures from their travels, which are fun to look at. But Marianne from Gretna said, wow, what a fun day we had. This is the first time we've ever participated in the Passport program, and this was our very first stop. Even though we only live about 10 minutes away, we had never ventured out to Schramm before and didn't know what to expect. It was a pleasant surprise. Aside from a small aquarium, there are plenty of activities in the education center, and so much to do outdoors too. From feeding the fish and geese at the hatchery, a playground, and lots of winding trails through thick trees. We're already planning our next visit. So like I said, these are just kind of the stories that we get on the site that we get to go through and read, and they're just a lot of fun. So lastly, I wanted to go over some frequently asked questions. So we get, Madison and me get a lot of questions from people about the program, and these are kind of the ones right now that we're seeing a lot of, so I wanted to make sure that you all knew the answers to them, just in case people ask you these questions, or if you actually have this question yourself. So one of them is, can I collect stamps through the booklet and the app? The answer to that is yes, so you can do both. Obviously you won't get double the prizes or anything if you do both of them. But if you have, let's say, 20 of your stops you collected through the app and the other 50 you collected through the booklet, at the end of the Passport season, you can submit both of them and we'll combine them for you and give you prizes based on how many you went to just in total. So you can definitely use both. And we actually encourage, even if you're not planning on getting stamps through the app, we actually encourage that you download the app anyways, because we send out notifications through the app that are really important, like I said, hour changes, if stops have to close early, like for example with the Twisted Mare closing permanently, we sent that notification out over the app. So we just really recommend that if anyone's going to participate, they at least download the app so they can get updates. We also get the question, what do I do if my app isn't working and won't let me get a digital stamp? So of course with technology we're always going to have issues. And anytime that happens, all you have to do is either call the number that is listed in the Passport booklet and on the Passport app, or email info@nebraskapassport.com. Madison is always very happy to give people stamps if it's for some reason isn't working. We do recommend that if your app's not working, that you take like a digital picture or selfie to prove that you were at that stop, and then Madison is happy to credit you that stamp if you couldn't get it to work. But like I said, you can always email info@nebraskapassport.com if you're having any issues with that. So the next question that we get frequently is, how do I get passport booklets for my visitor center? So we've been getting a lot of questions from visitor centers throughout the state and kind of other stops and destinations too. If you ever need any booklets, you're a stop and you run out of booklets, all you have to do is email info@nebraskapassport.com and we will send you as many booklets as you want. And then another question that we get a lot is, how do I become a passport stop for next year? At the end of this season, so like I said, the seasons run from May 1st to September 30th. So at the end of the season, we will open up an application process to become a stop for next year, and it'll just ask you basic questions like, what are your hours, explain why you would be a good passport stop, it's just basic information that you have to answer. And then you can just apply for the program, and then we'll start the selection process in about December, January or so. So that's just a little bit of information about the passport program. Those are some frequently asked questions that we do get a lot. Like I said at the beginning, if you have any questions, you can email callie.ostad@nebraska.gov, and she is happy to read those questions out loud to me and for me to answer them. But that's kind of what I had for just the information I wanted to tell. So a little bit about the passport stops that you'll experience this year, frequently asked questions, how you can benefit from a passport stop being in your community, and now we'll just open it up to questions. And I'm going to invite Madison back up here. She knows probably some of the answers. I figured, you could kind of help me answer some of the questions as well. But Callie, did we have any questions?
Yes, we have a couple questions for you ladies. The first question actually comes from here in Lincoln. It says, how do people find out about road closures with all the flooding that's been happening, and is there a website they can check?
Yeah, so every time there's been a road closure, I have sent out a notification over the app. So for example, this last weekend, Brownville did have some, I think Highway 136 closed from Auburn to Brownville, and I sent that over the app to make sure people knew kind of that they should have to go through a different town in order to get there, but it was still open. And so yeah, I'll definitely keep everybody updated. It's not a problem at all, but also you can go to 511, it's Nebraska, and they have an interactive map where you can kind of zoom in and check to see, it'll tell you if maybe a bridge is out or the road has been washed away, but for the most part, Nebraska is pretty good. Yeah. Some of the main ones, obviously like I-29 is closed, but really it's kind of a day-by-day basis, so definitely 511 is the place to go.
Wonderful. Okay, the next question actually comes from out in Gearing. They're asking, can people buy passport shirts?
They cannot buy passport shirts. We just actually got the approval as a Nebraska Tourism Commission to sell items, so that might be something we maybe think about in the future, but as of right now, the only way that you can get a passport t-shirt is if you go to all 70 stops. So we really encourage you all to go to all 70 stops.
Very nice.
Which that can sound really daunting, but we already have, I think there's 1 or 2 people who've already completed all 70, and the program's been going on for about 30 days. So
yeah. It's insane.
It can be done.
I know, I think I was looking at it, and there's another person that was like already at 45, which is
and they have like
crazy.
65. And you're just like, wow.
Yeah, 749 people did it last year, so we're hoping for more than that this year.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. And to follow that question, there's another one from Nebraska City. It says, what are the prizes for this year's program?
I'll let you take that
Yeah,
one.
so the prizes for this year's program, so they are listed in the booklet and on the app as well, but if you go to 10 stops, since it's our 10th anniversary, you get a 10th anniversary keepsake item. For 25, there's a Visit Nebraska calendar, which we love the Visit Nebraska calendars because they have postcards in them that you can peel off. And then for 50, I think it's 50, is Baker's Chocolates. Who doesn't love Baker's Chocolates? And then all 70, you get that wonderful Nebraska Passport t-shirt, and then you also get $100 worth of Nebraska lottery coupons. And then we also have a grand prize drawing, which is for if you finish 70 stops, you get put into a grand prize drawing for an Omaha Steaks Butcher Share package. And then anyone who turns in a passport booklet, whether that's with 1 stop, 10 stops, 30 stops, gets put into a drawing for $300 worth of Nebraska lottery coupons. So yeah, those are the prizes this year.
Very exciting. Okay, this is my third question. This comes from a woman in Kearney. She writes, I have multiple children that would love to participate, but they do not have a phone. What can I do?
So I would suggest just getting each of your children a passport booklet. It's a fun way for them to feel like they're really participating, and then they can kind of put their entry sheet out there, and it gets them excited to really feel like they're doing something in the program. But I also have people who will have an individual app account for their child, and they have to log off their account and log into their child's account, which is definitely a way to do it, but I can imagine how that would be kind of frustrating for some people. But also a way to do it if you say you get to a stop and it's closed, so you can't get your booklet stamped, or maybe whatever happens, you can't get a digital or you can't get a physical stamp. You can always take a selfie and turn that into me, and I will give them a digital stamp regardless of whether or not they were able to get it on the app or not. So so that's probably the best way for kids to get involved. But I strongly encourage them to have their own booklet, because I just think that's more fun for them. And I know sometimes things can get lost, but yeah.
Yeah, and you only get, so if you submit a booklet but you did it with 4 family members, you do only get 1 prize per level. So if you do want, let's say you have 4 people in your family and they all want their own prizes, that's when you'll definitely need to get your own booklets or your own accounts over the app. Yeah. And you can submit selfies at the end with your prize sheet, or we have an area where you can turn them in online at nebraskapassport.com.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my last question for you. I am looking to apply to be a passport stop for next year. What are some of the ways that I can stand out against other applicants?
Yeah, well,
definitely hours. Hours
Yes.
is a big one. We do require that you're open at least one day over the weekend, just because that's when people do most of their traveling. And we do tend to get a lot of complaints, like if a stop is only open Monday through Friday. So hours is a big one. Like I said, customer service. So if you are a tourism ambassador if you're promote the tourism in your area a lot, we really love that, because we just want to make sure that this program, people are visiting your stop and they're encouraging people to go out in other areas to have a unique experience as well. So just to make your destination unique, like I'm trying to think of an example of somebody that makes their spot. Like, for example, even just the Brownville thing. Like when someone comes to the Bluebird in Brownville, not only do they get the ice cream that Bluebird has there, but they also get handed this scavenger hunt sheet that's a lot of fun, and you can go around. Or like Happy Jack Chalk Mine provides these really fun tours that they take people in a mine, and they tell a lot of really fun stories. So
yeah, I think anything that makes you go out of your way to really be a friend of the program and a friend of the Tourism Commission just is helpful, and it feels really good, because we know that you're going to be a good ambassador. So just kind of being able to reach out and be like, I have these really awesome ideas. Like, I'm going to give everyone who comes through a 10% off coupon or something kind of fun to get it. I mean, those are just a few things. But ours is definitely the biggest one, because we need consistency is really important.
Yeah, and if you know of anybody that you think would be a great passport stop, feel free to reach out to Madison, because she's already compiling a list of people that have said they're interested, or of people that have told her, like, oh, I think this would be a really cool stop in that area.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you have a place in mind that you think would be great for next year's program, reach out to Madison, and she can make sure that they get an application when the application opens up at the end of September.
Yeah, and really encourage them to apply, because that's a big thing. Is just so that way you can contact me, but also just be like, hey, I think you'd be really good for this. You should apply and see what happens.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's all the questions I have today.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. If you do have any questions about the Passport program anytime in the near future, like I said, Madison is your girl now, so madison.schlake@nebraska.gov is a great place to send questions to. But thank you for that today, and that is all we have.